Chapter 19 of How It Flies, or Conquest of the Air. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. How It Flies, or Conquest of the Air, by Richard Ferris. Chapter 19 Chronicle of Aviation Achievements. How feeble the start, and how wondrously rapid the growth of the art of flying! Nothing can better convey a full idea of its beginnings and its progress than the recorded facts as given below. And these facts show beyond dispute that the credit of laying the foundation for every accomplishment in the entire record must be largely due to the men whose names stand alone for years as the only aeroplanists in the world, the Wright brothers. After the first flight on December 17, 1903, the Wrights worked steadily toward improving their machines, and gaining a higher degree of the art of balancing, without which even the most perfect machines would be useless. Most of their experimenting having been done in secret, the open record of their results from time to time is very meager. It may be noted, however, that for nearly 3 years no one else made any records at all. The next name to appear on the roll is that of Santos Dumont, already famous for his remarkable achievements in building and navigating dirigible balloons, or airships. His first aeroplane flight was on August 22, 1906, and was but little more than rising clear of the ground. It was nearly 7 months later when Delagrange added his name to the 3 then on the list of practical aviators. In about 5 months Blériot joined them, and in a few more weeks Farman had placed his name on the roll. It is interesting to compare the insignificant figures of these first flights of these men with their successive feats as they gain in experience. Up to October 19, 1907, the flights recorded had been made with machines of the biplane type, but on that date R. Esnault-Peltier made a few short flights with a monoplane. A month later Santos Dumont had gone over to the monoplane type, and the little group of 7 had been divided into 2 classes, 5 biplanists and 2 monoplanists. On March 29, 1908, Delagrange started a new column in the record book by taking a passenger up with him, in this case Farman. They flew only 453 feet, but it was the beginning of passenger carrying. During the first 6 months of 1908 only 2 more names were added to the roll, Baldwin and McCurdy, both on the biplane side. On July 4, 1908, Curtiss comes into the circle with his first recorded flight, in which he used a biplane of his own construction. The same day in France, Blériot changed to the ranks of the monoplane men, with a flight measured in miles instead of in feet. 2 days later, Farman advanced his distance record from 1.24 miles to 12.2 miles, and his speed record from about 21 miles an hour to nearly 39 miles an hour. In 2 days more, Delagrange had taken up the first woman passenger ever carried on an aeroplane, and a month later Captain L. F. Ferber had made his first flights in public, and added his name to the growing legion of the biplanists. In the latter part of 1908, the Wrights seemed to take possession of the record, Orville in America and Wilbur in Europe, surpassing their own previous feats, as well as those of others. Blériot and Farman also steadily advanced their performances to a more distinguished level. The record for 1909 starts off with 3 new names, Moore-Brabazon and Legagneux in France, and Cody in England. Richardson, Count de Lambert, Calderara, Latham, Tissandier, Rougier join the ranks of the aviators before the year is half gone, and a few days later Sommer and Paulhan add their names. Of these only Latham flies the monoplane type of machine, but at the Reims tournament Delagrange appears as a monoplanist, increasing the little group to 4. But, with Leblanc added later, they perform some of the most remarkable feats on record. The contest at Reims in August is a succession of record-breaking and record-making achievements. But it is at Blackpool and Doncaster that the most distinct progress of the year is marked, by the daring flights of Leblanc and Latham in fierce gales. Spectators openly charged these men with foolhardiness, but it was of the first importance that it should be demonstrated that these delicately built machines can be handled safely in the most turbulent weather. And the fact that it has been done successfully will inspire every other aviator with a greater degree of confidence in his ability to control his machine in whatever untoward circumstances he may be placed. And such confidence is by far the largest element in safe and successful flying. Notable aviation records to close of 1910. December 17, 1903. Wilbur Wright with biplane, at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, makes the first successful flight by man with power-propelled machine, a distance of 852 feet, in 59 seconds. November 9, 1904. Wilbur Wright with biplane, at Dayton, Ohio, flies 3 miles in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. He and Orville made upward of 100 unrecorded flights in that year. September 26, 1905. Wilbur Wright with biplane White Flyer, at Dayton, Ohio, flies 11 miles in 18 minutes and 9 seconds. September 29, 1905. Orville Wright with White Flyer, at Dayton, Ohio, flies 12 miles in 19 minutes and 55 seconds. October 3, 1905. Wilbur Wright with White Flyer, at Dayton, Ohio, flies 15 miles in 25 minutes and 5 seconds. October 4, 1905. Orville Wright with biplane White Flyer, at Dayton, Ohio, flies 21 miles in 33 minutes and 17 seconds. October 5, 1905. Wilbur Wright with White Flyer, at Dayton, Ohio, flies 24 miles in 38 minutes. He made many unrecorded flights in that year. August 22, 1906. A. Santos Dumont with biplane, at Bagatelle, France, made his first public flight with an aeroplane, hardly more than rising clear of the ground. September 14, 1906. Santos Dumont with biplane, at Bagatelle, flies for 8 seconds. October 24, 1906. Santos Dumont with biplane, at Bagatelle, flies 160 feet in 4 seconds. November 13, 1906. Santos Dumont with biplane, at Bagatelle, flies 722 feet in 21 seconds. This feat is recorded as the first aeroplane flight made in Europe. March 16, 1907. Léon Delagrange with first Voisin biplane, at Bagatelle, flies 30 feet. August 6, 1907. Louis Blériot with a Langley machine, at Issy, France, flies 470 feet. October 15, 1907. Henry Farman with biplane, at Issy, flies 937 feet in 21 seconds. October 19, 1907. R. Esnault-Peltier with monoplane, at Buc, France, makes short flights. October 26, 1907. Farman with biplane, at Issy, flies 2,529 feet in a half circle in 52 seconds. November 17, 1907. Santos Dumont with biplane, at Issy, makes several short flights, the longest being about 500 feet. November 21, 1907. Santos Dumont with monoplane, at Bagatelle, makes several short flights, the longest being about 400 feet. January 13, 1908. Farman with biplane, at Issy, makes the first flight in a circular course, 3,279 feet in 1 minute and 28 seconds. March 12, 1908. F. W. Baldwin with biplane Red Wing, at Hammondsport, New York, flies 319 feet. March 21, 1908. Farman with biplane, at Issy, flies 1.24 miles in 3 minutes and 31 seconds. March 29, 1908. Delagrange with biplane, at Ghent, Belgium, makes first recorded flight with one passenger, Farman, 453 feet. April 11, 1908. Delagrange with biplane, at Issy, flies 2.43 miles in 6 minutes and 30 seconds, winning the Archdeacon Cup. May 18, 1908. J. A. D. McMurdy with biplane White Wing, at Hammondsport, flies 600 feet. May 27, 1908. Delagrange with biplane, at Rome, in the presence of the King of Italy, flies 7.9 miles in 15 minutes and 25 seconds. May 30, 1908. Farman with biplane, at Ghent, flies .77 miles with one passenger, Mr. Archdeacon. June 8, 1908. Esnault-Peltier with monoplane, at Buc, flies .75 miles, reaching an altitude of 100 feet. June 22, 1908. Delagrange with biplane, at Milan, Italy, flies 10.5 miles in 16 minutes and 30 seconds. July 4, 1908. Glenn H. Curtiss with biplane, at Hammondsport, flies 5,090 feet in 1 minute and 42 seconds, winning Scientific American Cup. July 4, 1908. Blériot with monoplane, at Issy, flies 3.7 miles in 5 minutes and 47 seconds, making several circles. July 6, 1908, Farman in biplane at Ghent flies 12.2 miles in 19 minutes and 3 seconds, winning the Armagnac prize. July 8, 1908, Delagrange with biplane at Turin, Italy, flies 500 feet with the first woman passenger ever carried on an airplane, Mrs. Peltier. August 9, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Le Mans, France, makes several short flights to prove the ease of control of his machine. August 8, 1908, L. F. Ferber with biplane at Issy makes first trial flights. September 6, 1908, Delagrange with biplane at Issy flies 15.2 miles in 29 minutes and 52 seconds, beating existing French records. September 8, 1908, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer, Virginia, flies 40 miles in 1 hour and 2 minutes, rising to 100 feet. September 9th, 10th, and 11th, 1908, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer makes several flights, increasing in duration from 57 minutes to 1 hour 10 minutes and 24 seconds. September 12, 1908, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies 50 miles in 1 hour 14 minutes and 20 seconds, the longest flight on record. September 12, 1908, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies for 9 minutes and 6 seconds with one passenger, Major Square, making a new record. September 17, 1908, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies 3 miles in 4 minutes with Lieutenant Selfridge. The machine fell, Selfridge was killed, and Wright severely injured. September 19, 1908, L. F. Ferber with biplane at Issy flies 1,640 feet. September 21, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Avois flies 41 miles in 1 hour and 31 minutes. September 25, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Le Mans, France, flies 11 minutes and 35 seconds with one passenger, making a new record. October 3, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Le Mans, France, flies 55 minutes and 37 seconds with one passenger, making new record. October 6, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Le Mans flies 1 hour, 4 minutes and 26 seconds with one passenger, breaking all records. October 10, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Avois flies 46 miles in 1 hour and 9 minutes with one passenger, Mr. Painlevé, also carried 35 others on different trips, one at a time. October 21, 1908, Blériot with monoplane at Toury, France, flies 4.25 miles in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. October 30, 1908, Farman with biplane at Chalons, France, makes a flight across country to Reims, 17 miles in 20 minutes. October 31, 1908, Farman with biplane at Chalons flies 23 minutes, reaching a height of 82 feet. October 31, 1908, Blériot with monoplane at Toury flies 8.7 miles to Artenay in 11 minutes, lands, and returns to Toury. December 18, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Avois flies 62 miles in 1 hour and 54 minutes, rising to 360 feet, making a world record. December 31, 1908, Wilbur Wright with biplane at Le Mans flies 76.5 miles in 2 hours, 18 minutes, and 53 seconds, making a new world record and winning the Michelin prize. The distance traversed, unofficial, is claimed to have been actually over 100 miles. January 28, 1909, Moore-Brabazon with biplane at Chalons flies 3.1 miles, in practice with a Voisin machine. February 14, 1909, Le Gagnon with biplane at Mourmelon, France, flies 1.2 miles and in a second flight of 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers, traces 2 circles. February 22, 1909, S. F. Cody with biplane at Aldershot, England, flies 1,200 feet in a 12-mile wind. February 23, 1909, J. A. D. McCurdy with the biplane Silver Dart at Baddeck, Cape Breton, flies 2,640 feet. February 24, 1909, McCurdy with the biplane Silver Dart at Baddeck flies 4.5 miles. February 24, 1909, Moore-Brabazon with biplane at Issy flies 1.2 miles, tracing 2 circles. February 28, 1909. Moore-Brabazon made several flights at Issy. March 8, 1909. McCurdy with biplane Silver Dart at Baddeck made 5 flights, the longest about 8 miles in 11 minutes and 15 seconds. March 10, 1909. Santos Dumont with monoplane Libellule at Bagatelle flies 1,300 feet. March 11, 1909. W. J. Richardson with a new form of aeroplane at Dayton, Ohio, flies for 38 minutes, rising to a height of over 300 feet. March 11, 1909. McCurdy with biplane Silver Dart at Baddeck flies 19 miles in 22 minutes. March 17, 1909. Count de Lambert, pupil of Wilbur Wright, made his first flight alone in biplane at Pau, France. He remained in the air 3 minutes. March 18, 1909. McCurdy with biplane Silver Dart at Baddeck flies 16 miles, completing a record of an even 1,000 miles in the air within a period of 10 months. March 18, 1909. F. W. Baldwin with biplane Silver Dart at Baddeck made a short flight. March 20, 1909. Wilbur Wright with biplane at Pau succeeds in rising from the ground without the starting device previously used. He makes several flights. March 24, 1909. Count de Lambert with biplane at Pau flies 15.6 miles in 27 minutes and 11 seconds. April 10, 1909. Santos Dumont with monoplane Demoiselle at Saint-Cyr, France, flies 1.2 miles. April 13, 1909. Count de Lambert with biplane at Pau flies for 1 minute and 30 seconds with 1 passenger, Léon Delagrange. April 16, 1909. Wilbur Wright with biplane at Rome, Italy, made many flights, taking up many passengers, one at a time. April 27, 1909. Legagnon with Voisin biplane at Vienna flies 2.5 miles in 3 minutes and 26 seconds. April 28, 1909. Lieutenant Mario Calderara, pupil of Wilbur Wright, with biplane at Rome, made his first public flight, remaining in the air 10 minutes. April 30, 1909. Moore-Brabazon with biplane in England flies 4.5 miles. May 14, 1909. S. F. Cody with the Army biplane at Aldershot flies 1 mile. May 19, 1909. Hubert Latham with Antoinette monoplane at Chalons flies 1,640 feet. May 20, 1909. Paul Tissandier, pupil of Wilbur Wright, with biplane at Pau flies 35.7 miles. May 23, 1909. Delagrange with biplane at Juvisy flies 3.6 miles in 10 minutes and 18 seconds, winning the Lagatiniere Prize. May 23, 1909. Henry Rougier with biplane at Juvisy flies 18.6 miles, 30 kilometers. May 30, 1909. Blériot with monoplane at Issy flies 8.7 miles. June 5, 1909. Latham with monoplane at Chalons flies for 1 hour 7 minutes and 37 seconds in wind and rain. June 6, 1909. Latham with monoplane at Juvisy flies 10 miles across country. June 12, 1909. Latham with monoplane at Juvisy flies 30 miles in 39 minutes, winning the Goupy Prize. June 12, 1909. Delagrange with biplane at Juvisy makes cross-country flight of 3.7 miles. June 12, 1909. Blériot with monoplane at Juvisy flies 984 feet with 2 passengers, Santos Dumont and Fournier. June 13, 1909. Faber with Voisin biplane at Juvisy flies 3.1 miles in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. June 19, 1909. Santos Dumont with monoplane at Issy makes several flights. July 4, 1909. Roger Sommer with biplane at Chalons flies 3.75 miles on Farman machine. July 10, 1909. Louis Paulin with biplane at Douai, France, makes his first flight, 1.25 miles. July 13, 1909. Curtis with biplane at Mineola, Louisiana, flies 1.5 miles in 3 minutes. July 13, 1909. Blériot with monoplane at Mont-Desir makes a flight of 26 miles across country in 44 minutes and 30 seconds. July 15, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Douai flies for 1 minute and 17 seconds, soaring to an altitude of 357 feet. July 17, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies 16 minutes and 40 seconds at a speed of 40 miles an hour. July 17, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Mineola makes 15 miles in 21 minutes, describing circles in both directions as in the figure 8. July 18, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Hempstead Plains, LI, flies 29½ miles in 52 minutes and 30 seconds, a flight exceeded only by the Wrights in America and Blériot, Latham, and Paulin in Europe. July 18, 1909, Farman with biplane at Chalons flies for 1 hour and 23 minutes, making his first long flight. July 18, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Chalons makes his longest flight, 1 hour and 40 minutes. July 19, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Calais, France, makes his first attempt to cross the Channel to Dover. He flies 11 miles, and then his machine falls into the sea. July 19, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Douai makes a cross-country flight of 12.1 miles in 22 minutes and 53 seconds. July 20, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies 1 hour and 20 minutes. July 21, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies 1 hour and 29 minutes. July 21, 1909, E. Lefebvre with biplane at La Haye, France flies 2 miles. July 21, 1909, S. F. Cody with biplane at Aldershot flies 4 miles. July 23, 1909, Farman with biplane at Chalons makes a cross-country flight to Suippes, 40 miles in 1 hour and 5 minutes. July 23, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Douai flies 43.5 miles in 1 hour 17 minutes and 19 seconds. July 24, 1909, Curtiss in biplane at Hempstead Plains flies 25 miles in 52 minutes and 30 seconds, winning the Scientific American Cup the second time. July 25, 1909, Blériot with monoplane at Calais flies to Dover, England across the English Channel, 32 miles in 37 minutes. July 27, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer flies 1 hour and 13 minutes with 1 passenger, securing acceptance of Wright machine by U.S. government on the duration specifications. July 27, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Calais flies 20 miles in a second attempt to cross the English Channel. When near Dover, the machine fell. July 27, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Chalons flies to Vadenay and back, 25 miles in 1 hour 23 minutes and 30 seconds. July 30, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Fort Myer established a world record with 1 passenger in a cross-country flight to Shooter's Hill and back, about 10 miles in 14 minutes and 40 seconds, a speed of about 42 miles an hour, winning a bonus of $25,000 from the U.S. government. August 1, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Chalons flies 1 hour 50 minutes and 30 seconds at an average height of 80 feet, over a distance estimated at 70 miles, surpassing all French records. August 2, 1909, McCurdy with a new type of machine at Petawawa makes several flights. August 2, 1909, F. W. Baldwin with biplane at Petawawa makes several short flights. August 2, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Chalons flies to Suippes, 9 miles at the rate of 45 miles an hour. August 4, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Chalons in the effort to beat Wilbur Wright's record flies for 2 hours and 10 seconds. Wright's record flight was 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 23 seconds, made on December 31, 1908. August 5, 1909, E. Bonneau-Varilla with Voisin biplane at Chalons flies for 15 minutes. August 6, 1909, Legagneau with biplane at Stockholm flies with 1 passenger, 3,280 feet. August 6, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Dunkirk, France, flies for 18 minutes and 20 seconds, reaching an altitude of 200 feet. August 7, 1909, Paulin with Voisin biplane at Dunkirk flies 23 miles in 33 minutes. August 7, 1909, Sommer with Voisin biplane at Chalons flies for 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 15 seconds, making new world record for duration. August 13, 1909, Charles F. Willard with biplane at Hempstead Plains made the longest cross-country flight on record for America, about 12 miles in 19 minutes and 30 seconds. The braking of his engine caused him to come down. He landed without mishap. August 22, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Reims, France, flies 1 hour, 19 minutes and 30 seconds. August 22, 1909, Legagneau with biplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 9 minutes and 56 seconds, winning third prize for speed over course of 10 kilometers. August 22, 1909, Tissandier with biplane at Reims flies 18.6 miles in 29 minutes. He won with this record the third prize for speed over 30 kilometers. August 22, 1909, E. Bonalvaria with biplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 13 minutes and 30 seconds. With this record he won the 13th prize for speed over course of 10 kilometers. August 23, 1909, Delagrange with monoplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 11 minutes and 4 seconds. He won the 10th prize for speed over 10 kilometers. August 23, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 8 minutes and 35 seconds, a speed of 42.3 miles an hour, beating the record for speed over course of 10 kilometers. August 23, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Reims flies 18.6 miles in 38 minutes and 12 seconds, reaching an altitude of 295 feet. August 23, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Reims flies 34.8 miles in an endurance test. August 25, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Reims flies 82 miles in 2 hours, 43 minutes and 25 seconds. With this record he won the third prize for duration of flight. August 25, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 8 minutes and 44 seconds, again reducing the time for 10 kilometers. August 25, 1909, Blériot with monoplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 8 minutes and 4 seconds, making a new record for speed over the course of 10 kilometers. August 26, 1909, Curtiss in biplane at Reims flies 19 miles in 29 minutes. With this record he won the 10th prize for duration of flight. August 26, 1909, Count de Lambert with biplane at Reims flies 72 miles in 1 hour and 52 minutes. With this record he won the 4th prize for duration of flight. August 26, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Reims flies 96.5 miles in 2 hours, 17 minutes and 21 seconds. With this record he won the 2nd prize for duration of flight. August 27, 1909, Farman with biplane at Reims flies 112 miles in 3 hours, 4 minutes and 57 seconds. This record won for him the 1st prize for duration of flight. August 27, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Reims flies to an altitude of 508 feet. With this record he won 1st prize for altitude. August 27, 1909, Delagrange with monoplane at Reims flies 31 miles. With this record he won the 8th prize for duration of flight. August 27, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Reims flies 37 miles. He won the 7th prize for distance. August 27, 1909, Tissandier with biplane at Reims flies 69 miles. This record won for him the 6th prize for distance. August 27, 1909, Lefebvre with biplane at Reims flies 12.4 miles in 20 minutes and 47 seconds, exhibiting great daring and skill. He was fined for, quote, recklessness, unquote. August 27, 1909, Blériot with monoplane at Reims flies 25 miles in 41 minutes. This record won for him the 9th prize for distance flown. August 28, 1909, Lefebvre with biplane at Reims makes a spectacular flight for 11 minutes with 1 passenger. August 28, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Reims flies 12.4 miles in 15 minutes and 56 seconds, winning the Gordon Bennett Cup. August 28, 1909, Blériot with monoplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 7 minutes and 48 seconds. With this record he won the 1st prize for speed over course of 10 kilometers. August 29, 1909, Farman with biplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles with 2 passengers in 10 minutes and 30 seconds, winning a prize. August 29, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Reims flies 18.6 miles in 23 minutes and 30 seconds. With this record he won the 1st prize for speed over course of 30 kilometers. August 29, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Reims flies 6.2 miles in 7 minutes and 51 seconds, winning the 2nd prize for speed over course of 10 kilometers. August 29, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Reims rise to a height of 180 feet, winning the fourth prize for altitude. August 29, 1909, E. Bounavoria with biplane at Reims flies 18.6 miles in 38 minutes and 31 seconds. With this record he won the eighth prize for speed over course of 30 kilometers. August 29, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin makes several short flights. August 29, 1909, S. F. Cody with biplane at Aldershot flies 10 miles with one passenger. September 4, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin flies for 55 minutes. September 6, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Nancy, France flies 25 miles in 35 minutes. He takes up a number of passengers one at a time. September 7, 1909, Lefebvre with biplane at Juvisy is killed by the breaking of his machine in the air after he had flown 1,800 feet. September 8, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin flies 17 minutes with one passenger, Captain Hildebrand. September 8, 1909, S. F. Cody with biplane at Aldershot flies to Farnborough and back, 46 miles in 1 hour and 3 minutes. This is the first recorded cross-country flight in England. September 9, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin flies for 15 minutes with one passenger, Captain Engelhardt. September 9, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Tournai, Belgium flies 12.4 miles in 17 minutes. September 9, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Brescia flies 12 minutes and 10 seconds, soaring to a height of 328 feet. September 10, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Nancy flies 18 miles, accompanying troops on review. September 11, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Nancy flies to Lenoncourt, 24 miles. September 11, 1909, Curtis with biplane at Brescia flies 31 miles in 49 minutes and 24 seconds, winning the first prize for speed. September 12, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Brescia flies 31 miles in 1 hour 10 minutes and 18 seconds, soaring to a height of 380 feet. September 12, 1909, Calderara with biplane at Brescia flies 6.3 miles with one passenger, winning a prize. September 13, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Tournai flies to Tantigues and back in 1 hour and 35 minutes. September 13, 1909, Santos Dumont with monoplane at Saint-Cyr, France flies 5 miles in 12 minutes to Buc to visit Maurice Gouffroy on a bet of $200 that each would be the first to visit the other. September 15, 1909, Ferber with biplane at Boulogne, France flies to Wimereux, 6 miles in 9 minutes. September 15, 1909, Calderara with biplane at Brescia flies 5.6 miles with one passenger, winning the Oldufredi Prize. September 17, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin flies for 54 minutes and 26 seconds, rising to an altitude of 765 feet, estimated. He afterward flew for 47 minutes and 5 seconds with Captain Engelhardt. September 17, 1909, Santos Dumont with monoplane at Saint-Cyr flies 10 miles in 16 minutes across country. September 17, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Ostend, Belgium flies 1.24 miles in 3 minutes and 16 seconds along the waterfront and out over the sea. September 18, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin establishes a world record by flying for 1 hour 35 minutes and 47 seconds with one passenger, Captain Engelhardt. September 18, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Ostend flies for 1 hour over seafront circling over the water, winning a prize of $5,000. September 20, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Brescia broke the record for high flying by reaching an altitude of 645 feet, official measurement. September 20, 1909, Calderara with biplane at Brescia flies 31 miles in 50 minutes and 51 seconds, winning the second prize for speed. September 22, 1909, Captain Ferber with a biplane at Boulogne flies 1 mile when, his engine braking in the air, his machine falls and he is killed. September 25, 1909, Wilbur Wright with biplane at New York flies from Governor's Island around the Statue of Liberty. September 27, 1909, Latham in monoplane at Berlin flies 6.5 miles across country in 13 minutes. September 28, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Berlin flies 31 miles in 54 minutes, soaring to an altitude of 518 feet. September 29, 1909, Latham in monoplane at Berlin flies 42 miles in 1 hour and 10 minutes, winning the second prize for distance. September 29, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Berlin flies 48 miles in 1 hour and 35 minutes. September 29, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at New York makes flights about the harbor from Governor's Island. September 30, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin soars to a height of 902 feet, making a world record for altitude. September 30, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Berlin flies 51 miles in 1 hour and 23 minutes. October 1, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Berlin flies 80 miles in 2 hours and 38 minutes, winning the first prize for distance and speed. October 2, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin makes a flight of 10 minutes duration with the Crown Prince of Germany. October 3, 1909, Farman with biplane at Berlin flies 62 miles in 1 hour and 40 minutes, winning the third prize for distance and speed. October 4, 1909, Orville Wright with biplane at Berlin soared to an altitude of 1,600 feet, making a world record. October 4, 1909, Wilbur Wright with biplane at New York flies from Governor's Island to Grant's Tomb and back, 21 miles in 33 minutes and 33 seconds. October 10, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at St. Louis, Missouri makes several flights at the Centennial celebration. October 10, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Point Aviation flies 21.5 miles in 21 minutes and 48 seconds. October 12, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Point Aviation flies 3.6 miles in 6 minutes and 11 seconds, winning the prize for slowest flight. October 16, 1909, Curtiss with biplane at Chicago makes exhibition flights at 45 miles per hour. October 16, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Doncaster, England flies 9.7 miles in 21 minutes and 45 seconds, making the record for Great Britain. October 16, 1909, Delagrange with monoplane at Doncaster flies 5.75 miles in 11 minutes and 25 seconds. October 16, 1909, Cody with biplane at Doncaster flies 3,000 feet when his machine is wrecked and he is injured. October 18, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Blackpool, England flies 14 miles in 25 minutes and 53 seconds. October 18, 1909, Rougier with biplane at Blackpool flies 17.7 miles in 24 minutes and 43 seconds, winning the second prize. October 18, 1909, Farman with biplane at Blackpool flies 14 miles in 23 minutes. October 18, 1909, Leblanc with monoplane at Doncaster flies 22 miles in 30 minutes in a rainstorm, winning the Bradford Cup. October 18, 1909, Count de Lambert with biplane at Juvisy flies 31 miles to the Eiffel Tower in Paris and back in 49 minutes and 39 seconds. October 19, 1909, Leblanc with monoplane at Doncaster flies 15 miles in a gale. October 19, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Blackpool flies 15.7 miles in 32 minutes and 18 seconds, winning the third prize. October 20, 1909, Farman with biplane at Blackpool flies 47 miles in 1 hour 32 minutes and 16 seconds, winning the first prize, $10,000. October 20, 1909, Leblanc with monoplane at Doncaster makes a spectacular flight in a fierce gale. October 21, 1909, Count de Lambert with biplane at Point Aviation flies 1.25 miles in 1 minute and 57 seconds, winning prize of $3,000 for speed. October 22, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Blackpool flies in a squally gale blowing from 30 to 50 miles an hour. When headed into the wind, the machine moved backward in relation to points on the ground. Going before the wind, it passed points on the ground at a speed of nearly 100 miles an hour. This flight, twice around the course, is the most difficult feat accomplished by any aviator up to this date. October 26, 1909, Sommer with biplane at Doncaster flies 29.7 miles in 44 minutes and 53 seconds, winning the Whitworth Cup. October 26, 1909, Delagrange with monoplane at Doncaster flies 6 miles in 7 minutes and 36 seconds, a speed of over 50 miles an hour. October 30, 1909, Moore Brabazon with biplane at Shell Beach, England, wins a prize of $5,000 for flight with a British machine. November 3, 1909, Farman with biplane at Montmelin, France, flies 444 miles in 4 hours 6 minutes and 25 seconds, far surpassing his previous best record of 112 miles in 3 hours 4 minutes and 57 seconds, made at Reims and winning the Michelin Cup for duration and distance. November 19, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Montmelin broke the record for height by ascending to 1,170 feet in a wind blowing from 20 to 25 miles an hour. November 19, 1909, Latham with Antoinette monoplane surpassed Paulin's record by rising to an altitude of 1,333 feet. November 20, 1909, Paulin with biplane at Montmelon flies to Châlons and back, 37 miles in 55 minutes. December 1, 1909, Latham with monoplane at Montmelon soars to 1,500 feet in a 40-mile gale. December 30, 1909, Delagrange with monoplane at Juvisy flies 124 miles in 2 hours and 32 minutes, an average speed of 48.9 miles per hour, surpassing all previous records. December 31, 1909, Farman at Chartres, France flies to New Orleans 42 miles in 50 minutes. December 31, 1909, Maurice Farman at Montmelon, defending his brother Henry's record against competing aviators, flies 100 miles in 2 hours and 45 minutes without a fault. The Michelin Cup remains in his brother's possession. January 7, 1910, Latham with Antoinette monoplane at Châlons rises to a height of 3,281 feet, world's record. January 10, 1910, opening of aviation meet at Los Angeles, California. January 12, 1910, Paulin Farman biplane at Los Angeles rises to height of 4,146 feet, world's record. January 17, 1910, Paulin Farman biplane at Los Angeles flies 75 miles in 1 hour 58 minutes and 27 2/5 seconds. February 7, 1910, first flight in South America, Bregy Voisin biplane makes 2 flights near Buenos Aires. February 7, 1910, Duret with Farman biplane at Heliopolis, Egypt flies 5 kilometers in 4 minutes and 12 4/5 seconds, world's record. April 8, 1910, D. Kennett with Farman biplane at Montmelon flies for 2 hours 19 minutes and 4 2/5 seconds with passenger covering 102 miles. World's record for passenger flight. April 11, 1910, E. Genien with Farman biplane flies 2 hours 1 minute and 55 seconds at Johannesthal, German record. April 15, 1910, opening of Nice meeting. April 17, 1910, Paulin with Farman biplane flies from Chevy to Arcis-sur-Aube, 118 miles. Record cross-country flight. April 23, 1910, Graham White with Farman biplane flies from Park Royal, London to Rugby, 83 miles, in 2 hours and 1 minute. Starting again in 55 minutes, flies to Whittington in 1 hour and 5 minutes. April 27, 1910, Paulin with Farman biplane starts from Hendon, London at 5:31 p.m., flies within 5-mile circle and continues to Lichfield, arriving 8:10 p.m., 117 miles. Graham White starts from Wormwood Scrubs, London at 6:29 p.m., flies to Rode, arriving 7:55 p.m., 60 miles. April 28, 1910, Paulin flies from Lichfield to within 5 miles of Manchester, winning the 10,000 Daily Mail prize. April 30, 1910, opening of meeting at Tours, France. May 1, 1910, opening of Flying Week at Barcelona. May 3, 1910, Wien Thiers with Antoinette monoplane twice circles the Strasbourg Cathedral. May 6, 1910, Olies Lagers with Blériot monoplane makes flight of 18 minutes and 20 seconds above the sea at Barcelona and over the fortress of Mondrich. May 13, 1910, Engelhardt with Wright biplane at Berlin flies 2 hours 21 minutes and 45 seconds, German record. May 15, 1910, Kennett with Farman biplane flies 2 hours and 51 minutes with a passenger at Montmelon, making the world's record for passenger flight. May 15, 1910, Olies Lagers with Blériot monoplane flies 15 miles over the sea at Genoa. May 21, 1910, M. de Lesseps with Blériot monoplane flies from Calais to Dover in 37 minutes, winning 500 franc prize offered by M. M. Ruinart. May 28, 1910, G. Curtis with Curtis biplane starts from Albany at 7:03 a.m., flies to Poughkeepsie in 1 hour and 21 minutes, 70 miles, leaves Poughkeepsie at 9:24 a.m., flies to Spuiten-Duéville in 1 hour and 11 minutes, 67 miles, rises again at 11:45, flies over New York, landing on Governor's Island at 12:03 p.m., wins prize of $10,000 given by the New York World. June 2, 1910, Rolls with short right biplane leaves Dover at 6:30 p.m., crosses channel to French coast near Calais 7:15 p.m., without landing recrosses channel to Dover, flies over harbor, circles Dover Castle and lands at 8:10 p.m., wins second Ruinart prize of 80 francs. June 14, 1910, Brookins with Wright biplane at Indianapolis reaches height of 4,380 feet, world's record. June 25, 1910, In Italian Parliament, 25 million lire, about $5 million, voted for aviation in the extraordinary estimates of the Ministry of War. June 26, 1910. Dixon, with Farman biplane at Rouen, wins total distance prize of 2,000 francs and the 400 francs for longest unbroken flight. Distance flown 466 miles. June 27, 1910. M. de Lesseps, with Blériot monoplane, flies over Montreal for 49 minutes, covering about 30 miles at height generally of 2,000 feet. July 6, 1910. First German military airplane makes maiden cross-country flight over Dobritz. July 26, 1910. M. de Lesseps, with Blériot monoplane, starting from Ile de Gravois in the St. Lawrence, makes trip of 40 miles in 37 minutes. August 1, 1910. Henry Farman takes up 3 passengers at Montmelon for 1 hour and 4 minutes. August 5, 1910. Chavez, with Blériot monoplane, attains height of 5,750 feet. World's record. August 7, 1910. Lieutenants Kammerman and Villerme fly together from Montmelon to Nancy, 125 miles in 2½ hours with a Farman biplane. August 11, 1910. Drexel, with Blériot monoplane at Lanark, beats the world's record for height, rising 6,600 feet. August 27, 1910. First wireless telegram from a flying aeroplane, sent by McCurdy from a Curtiss machine in the air at Atlantic City, New Jersey. The sending key was attached to the steering wheel. August 28, 1910. Dufault, with biplane constructed by himself, flies over Lake Geneva, wins prize of 200 francs offered by Swiss Aero Club. August 29, 1910. Breguet, with Breguet monoplane, makes a flight at Lille, France, carrying 5 passengers, establishing world's record for passenger flight. August 29, 1910. Morane, with Blériot monoplane, at Havre, beats world's altitude record, reaches height of 7,166 feet. September 2, 1910. Mademoiselle Hélène Dutré flies with a passenger from Ostend to Bruges, Belgium, and back to Ostend. At Bruges she circles around the famous belfry at a height of 1,300 feet, the chimes pealing in honor of the feat, the most wonderful flight so far accomplished by a woman. September 3, 1910. M. Bielovucci lands at Bordeaux, France, having made the trip from Paris, 366 miles, inside of 48 hours. The actual time in the air was 7 hours, 6 minutes. Strong headwinds blew him backward, forcing a landing 3 times on the way. This is the 4th longest cross-country flight on record, and makes the world's record for sustained speed over a long distance. September 4, 1908. Morane, at Havre, rises to height of 8,469 feet. September 7, 1910. Weyman, with Farman biplane, flies from Buc in attempt to reach the top of the Puy de Dôme, lands at Volvic, 5 miles from his destination. Establishes world's record for flight with passenger, having covered 139 miles without landing. September 28, 1910. Chavez crosses the Alps on a Blériot monoplane from Breguet in Switzerland to Domodossola in Italy, flying over the Simplon Pass. October 1, 1910. Henry Winmelin of Holland, with a biplane at Montmelon, France, rises to a height of 9,121 feet, making a new world's record for altitude. October 4, 1910. Maurice Tabutiaux recrossed the Pyrenees in his return trip from San Sebastian to Biarritz without accident or marked incident. October 5, 1910. Léon Moraine, the winner of nearly all the contests in the English meets for 1910, fell with his monoplane at Boissy-Saint-Léger during a contest for the Michelin Cup, and was seriously injured. October 8, 1910. Archibald Hoxsey, with a biplane, makes the longest continuous airplane flight recorded in America between Springfield, Illinois, and St. Louis, Missouri, 104 miles. October 12, 1910. Alfred Leblanc, with monoplane, at St. Louis, flies 13 miles in 10 minutes, a speed of 78 miles per hour. It was not officially recorded, as a part of the distance was outside of the prescribed course. October 14, 1910. Graham White flies from the Bennings racetrack 6 miles across the Potomac River to the Capitol at Washington, circles the Dome, and then circles the Washington Monument, and finally alights with precision in Executive Street, between the executive offices and the building of the State, Army, and Navy departments. After a brief call, he rose from the narrow street, but 20 feet wider than his biplane, and returned to the racetrack without untoward incident. October 16, 1910. Winmelin flies from Paris to Brussels, and returns, with 1 passenger, within the elapsed time of 27 hours 50 minutes, winning 2 prizes amounting to $35,000. The distance is 350 miles, and the actual time in the air was 15 hours 38 minutes. October 25, 1910. J. Armstrong Drexel, with monoplane, at Belmont Park, LI, rises to height of 7,105 feet, breaking previous records, and surpassing his own record of 6,600 feet, made at Lanark, Scotland. October 26, 1910, Ralph Johnstone, in biplane, at Belmont Park, rises to the height of 7,313 feet, through sleet and snow, breaking the new American record made by Drexel the day before. October 27, 1910, Johnstone, with biplane, at Belmont Park, rises to height of 8,471 feet, surpassing his own record of the day before and establishing a new American record. The feat was performed in a gale blowing nearly 60 miles per hour, and the aviator was carried 55 miles away from his starting point before he landed. October 28, 1910, Debateau, with biplane, at Détance, France, makes a new world's endurance record of 6 hours continuous flight, covering a distance of 289 miles. October 29, 1910, Graham White, with monoplane, at Belmont Park, wins the international speed race over the distance of 62.1 miles in 1 hour, 1 minute, 4 3/5 seconds. October 29, 1910, LeBlanc, with monoplane, at Belmont Park, makes a new world's record for speed, reaching 70 miles per hour during the international speed race. Through a lack of fuel, he lost the race to Graham White after covering 59 miles in 52 minutes. October 30, 1910, John B. Moisin, with monoplane, wins the race from Belmont Park around the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor and the prize of $10,000. The distance is about 34 miles, and Moisin covered it in 34 minutes 39 seconds. October 30, 1910, James Radley, with monoplane, at Belmont Park, wins the cross-country flight of 20 miles in 20 minutes 5 seconds. October 31, 1910, Johnstone, with biplane, at Belmont Park, rises to a height of 9,714 feet, breaking the previous world's record made by Windmalen on October 1st. October 31, 1910, Drexel, with monoplane, racing for altitude with Johnstone, reaches a height of 8,370 feet. October 31, 1910, Moisin, with monoplane, at Belmont Park, wins the 2-hour distance race with a record of 84 miles. His next nearest competitor covered but 57 miles. November 14, 1910, Eugene Ely, with biplane, flew from a staging on the deck of the U.S. cruiser Birmingham 8 miles to the shore near the mouth of Chesapeake Bay. The flight was intended to end at the Norfolk Navy Yard, but an accident to the propeller at starting forced Ely to make directly for the shore. November 17, 1910, Ralph Johnstone, holder of the world's altitude record of 9,714 feet, was killed at Denver, Colorado, by a fall with his biplane. November 23, 1910, Drexel, at Philadelphia, reaches an altitude of 9,970 feet, passing all other altitude records. Coming down, he made a straight glide of 7 miles. December 2, 1910, Charles K. Hamilton, at Memphis, Tennessee, flies 4 miles in 3 minutes 1 second, a speed of 79.2 miles per hour. This is a new world's record. End of Chapter 19.